Hello, and welcome to the Darby Creek Diaries. I'm Gail Thompson, and I'm so glad you're spending time with me today. We're going to go over some distress techniques with the Brushstroke Flowers 3 by Tim Holtz and Sizzix. This is his most recent brushstroke, and there is number 2 on the right. And he also has a shaping kit with Sizzix. And that will give our flowers some more dimension. Make them a little 3D. I'm not going to do a lot of 3D because we're making cards, but they have several tips on the tools and these wonderful, they're the reverse tweezers with a very, very sharp point. So be careful and put that cap on. Before we get started, I just want to show you a few different papers that you can use. This is watercolor paper that I've used Distress Sprays on. And you can just use regular paper. This happens to have a sheen from Simon Says Stamp. Or scrapbook.com has those cool pads. And here's some just pattern paper that you could use. Lots and lots of things will work for this. It's a very versatile die and very forgiving. So here's a baggie. I just cut a bunch of these at once. While you're at the die cutter, you might as well. Now, just to show you, on the die, there are also some cutouts that they show you how to line up with a little bit of the indentations there. And that makes it much easier to line up at the end. See how it makes an impression there? Before we get to the technique, though, I am going to show you how to build the card because it's really hard to tell once you get to the watercolor paper. So we're just going to glue on our little pieces, and believe me, these pieces are little, so you got to really keep an eye on the little boogers because I have Berber carpet, and when something drops on the floor, oh my gosh, it's almost impossible to find it. One thing also about these dies, they cut out all the pieces at once. So you wind up having a pile that you can mix and match your papers. If there's just one little section that you need, you can, just put a little piece of paper in that corner. But it does give you loads and loads of different variety. When you just do one cut, you'll have all that color in every single piece. So keep that in mind because you're going to want little baggies to separate it. Now for the project, I have some watercolor cardstock, and I'm using the rough side of it. It's Distress Watercolor cardstock, and I'm just applying the ink a few different ways, but basically I'm adding water to the paper, so this is wet on wet technique of watercolor, and I'm just going to brush it on. It doesn't matter. I'm just, obviously not taking a bunch of time or care to do this. I'm using the Salvaged Patina, which I love. It's the newest distress color. I wonder where it's been my whole life. Now we're going to go to the oxides for the Salvaged Patina. And I'm going to start coloring there in the middle. And that's going to give us a little different color there. And oxide works just as soon as you apply the water, so it's pretty instant. This will make the little inside pieces somewhat darker. And look, it's super, super simple. I'm just taking my brush and just slopping the color on, which is my kind of doing, because I'm not an expert by any means in watercolor. Now we're hopping over to Abandoned Coral, and somehow I got this really close. I apologize for that, but you're seeing it really, really close. So I put multiple layers on this, and I wanted to get a nice deep color. This is Abandoned Coral. Now I went to a marker, a Zig brush marker, and now we have the flower put together because you already know how to do that, and I sprayed it with some water, and I'm lifting up some droplets. Technique that is known for distress inks. They do it the best, but probably any dye ink would do it to some degree. Now I'm getting out my detailed blending tool by Ranger. It's just has a little bit of cushy on the end, and you can really get deep into the little crevices and places that it's really hard to get a blending brush or any other kind of blending tool. And you see how I'm even going inside those little circles. And I do this with pretty much everything I color. I like to get rid of the white on the side. I think it just makes it look more finished. Now I've been watching some of Tim's lives, and they are awesome. Just look up Tim Holtz in YouTube, and you will find it very, very interesting. And he said to go ahead and finish the flower and then do this. But I'm just dragging the largest ball to the center, and it does kind of leave an indentation, but on this watercolor paper, but it's really thick. And it's also, you just have to do a lot of pressure. I didn't want a lot of dimension because I'm putting it on a card, but I just use the biggest ball for whatever you have. And I like the distress look, so I, went ahead and went with it. Now I did color the back later because I couldn't stand having it be white and have it stick up. Now I'm doing one of the small flowers, and I'm doing a different technique, direct to paper. And I'm just wiping my ink pad on it. This is Peacock Feathers. And now I'm adding more ink because boy, that watercolor paper is stubborn, especially on the rough side. And I'm using my Salvaged Patina again. And I do not know why I have this so close, but I'm just taking a blending tool and pouncing the color on. This was Salvaged Patina. I made the colors the opposite. So we're going to, the dimension will show a little bit better. I'm using the second to largest ball on the stylus and just rolling it into the middle. And you can do it you could wad it till it's all one little ball if you want. But like I said, I didn't want that much dimension. So this is perfect for a card. I'm probably still going to hand deliver the card because I'm pretty sure it would get mashed in the mail. Now I'm going to show you how to put this together with the watercolor paper because it's really, really hard to see the indentations, especially since instead of doing the whole thing at once, I curled it first. So I'm laying it up against the package, and then I got to thinking, well, this is really dumb. I should pull this out of the package because it's a whole lot easier to see. So I do that in a minute, but right now I'm sitting on top of the package and I'm just matching her up. And now, da-da, I got smart, or at least temporarily. And I'm just finishing up by lining it up. I hope that you're enjoying this and that you'll subscribe and like and tell your friends. I really appreciate the support. Now I'm taking my abandoned coral embossing ink not embossing ink, my distress ink. And I'm just putting together the center of that little flower. I used that zig brush again for the inside of this. And I decided I wanted to make it a little bitty bit darker. And I'm still using the package for reference. Although there really isn't a way to make a mistake. It's pretty self-explanatory. And who's going to know if it's not exactly in the right place anyway? I will never tell. So there's our little tiny flower, and there's our big contrasting flower. Now I'm going to just show you a little, using the smaller tip. All 4 tips are different sizes. You're just going to roll it toward you, just same as the flowers. Just go from the tips into the inside and see it really rounds it. And sometimes it probably over rounds it, but you can always flatten it back out because paper doesn't have a memory, I'm told. There you go, another leaf. Now we're rounding third and heading for home. Making our card base using my Teflon bone folder and flipping it back, which is I was told is the best way to have a crease. And I'm just stacking up some panels. That is one of my spray panels that I did it with my distress sprays. And I will put a link below to some of my other tutorials that talk about that. And I'm just kind of figuring out the lay of the land here. I goof around with this for quite a bit, but I do spare you most of it. So I think that's the way I'm going to head for now. So it's time to just glue everything down. I eyeball everything, so sometimes it takes a couple of tries to get it exactly the way I want it. And I'm just, that's why I use liquid glue most of the time. You got to have that wiggle room. Panel, I believe, was using Distress Kitsch Flamingo, the second to newest color, and picked raspberry and probably, I can't think of it, something honey, wild honey. And it's just spray, I just spray it in my splat box. Now I've got everything laid out where I want it. Generally, I'll take a picture. I was also trying to, there's some really cool things on that background. I was trying to leave it uncovered, but it was a little difficult. And you can see where I did color the back of everything because it is going to tip up just a little bit because I'm only gluing the center. And then I put my little flower down the same way and kind of mess with it. I couldn't really decide. I'm making it, obviously this is a square card. So I was trying to get the leaves and everything to fit in right because we all know it's hip to be square. So I fiddle-faddle with these for a little bit and then just start gluing them down. I'm so excited to get the news that we may be at the end of our masks. I know I'm at the end of my rope, but I just can't wait to not have to wear a mask at work. I've had both of my shots a long time ago, so I'm good to go. And like everyone else, just looking forward to a little bit of normal. I'm taking my tweezers and putting down, I did a couple layers on the hello. I didn't want it to be too much, too thick because I have enough going on, but the paper isn't quite as thick as others. Now I take my little, I call it my sparkle pen, and I just added a few details and then some glossy accents. I decided while my glossy accents was wet to go ahead and add some pearls because glossy accent also acts as a glue. So once I get this in, I kind of jump to the end, and so I don't really show you putting the pearls on, but there's the glossy accent part and the sparkly glitter part and showing you the texture. I just love making these cards, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you'll come back and see me. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, and if you have any comments, please leave them below. I'm going to leave you some videos to check out, and check out my playlist because there's loads and loads of stuff to look at. You take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.